if there's a disaster, this command is tasked of providing military support, and that's why you're here. It might be our #2 mission, but it's equal importance to us that we are in charge of defense support to civil authorities for the United States. Now, 99% of the time, you've got the disaster. 99% of the time in America, it's a local response, whether it's the fire chief or first responders or whether it's emergency management, or it moves up to the state level, or the county, then the state level. 99% of the time you got it. When the state needs help, they ask for the National Guard. And we saw that in Waldo Canyon fire, we saw it in the Black Forest fire, and we saw it in the Colorado flooding. And then the state will go and ask other National Guards for neighboring states, typically through the EMAC. But if there's federal, Title 10 federal forces that are required in addition to emergency response or mutual aid, either one of those that might be invoked immediately, that's where we get involved. Now, we helped out. We're very proud that we were there to help you in some ways for Waldo Canyon and for Black Forest and for the flood. But our bigger worry is even the bigger events, like Hurricane Sandy, or there's an exercise going on at a New Madrid fault that will affect 8 or 9 states. It's going on. It just ended, this big exercise. And we worry about the big responses also. But I tell you that because we do everything. We do windows. We're very proud of our small contribution, the military contribution to help you respond to the fire.
Thank you, sir.
And we're really looking forward to some of your remarks and to tell us kind of what you're worried about, what you think we did right, we collectively.
Sure.
And what we could expect, from your team. And I will warn you, I need to walk out for about 10 minutes, but I'll be back in. So just
Understood.
Keep going, and then I'll join you again. Susie, can I turn it over to the chief, or?
Absolutely. His brief is up, and Chief, the floor is yours.
Chris, you can speak here, or you can go up front, whatever you prefer.
Excuse me, I just ask that if you have badges that are exposed, please stow your badges. We are videotaping this, so thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Well, hey, good morning, everyone. I'm truly, truly honored to be here. Some ironies about today. Today is 2 years ago the Waldo Canyon fire started, and actually 33 years ago today I started the Fire Academy. So on a lesser note, but important to me anyway. Driving here this morning, at how much the world has changed, how much my job has changed. When I say my job, the fire service has changed in the last 33 years. This place was not stood up, obviously, 33 years ago, and the world has changed. And sir, I really appreciate the words you shared. We share a common mission, as you do, is before the emergency strikes, is to do everything we can to protect the citizens of the city of Colorado Springs in a lot of different ways, and then once something does strike, to safely mitigate that emergency. So with that said, next slide please. And I'll just, probably as my time allows, just sit here. The first thing I'd like to say, well, we're 23 days into this month, and June, as we all know, in our area here has not been a good month. The last 2 years we've had 2 epic fires. 2 years ago, of course, we had the Waldo fire, and last year we had the Black Forest fire. And I've told folks throughout the community, no, that is not our new normal. We're not going to accept that. We certainly can't guarantee there will not be an epic fire, but one of the biggest myths in our industry and with some folks is that we can eliminate risk. We can reduce risk, and that's what we're doing 24/7 constantly. But as we enter this wildfire season, the water perception concerns for 2014, as noted up on the slide, National Weather Service and National Interagency Fire Center report that southern Colorado is currently out of a drought and a normal fire season is predicted. Recent moisture, which we experienced this weekend, thankfully has been good. However, it causes rapid growth of light fuels that can dry out quickly after a few hot days. And one of our many mantras this season is preparedness and vigilance are the keys. We have roughly 450,000 residents in our city limits, about 600,000 residents in the county, and I look at every citizen we have as being potential eyes on a fire for us. So what we're doing in our travels is we are communicating the message that if you see anything, any smoke, anything, please call 911. Let us get on top of things quickly. Success in our job, should a fire break out, is largely dependent on how quickly we're able to get onto that fire. Much like police operations or military operations, we can assault a fire quickly with X amount of resources, but as the fire grows, our chances of mitigating the fire, that window is pretty small. And at least in our circles, of course, fire is always the enemy that we're fighting against, but we're also fighting against time. Time's a pretty critical enemy of ours, and the quicker we can get on the fire, the better. Next, please.
Hey, Chris, could you just tell us, how fast did the Waldo Canyon fire, do we have an idea when it started and how fast you detected that? And then secondly, the black forest fire.
I was certain that question was going to come up at some point. By way of background, I've been here for 10 months as the chief of Colorado Springs, sir. I was down as the fire chief of Pueblo for 7 years prior to that, and 25 years prior to that I was in California, up to including the rank of battalion chief and also as a strike team leader. I was not here 2 years ago as the fire chief when Waldo broke out. But the estimations and what have you, there's variations, and we have some folks here that actually were involved in Black Forest and being, I hope, somewhat of an open format. Perhaps somebody could better answer that question. Chief Campbell, he was involved in the fire chief.
Yeah, for the Waldo Canyon, our first smoke report came in the previous night about 20, 30 hours. We were up there, but being that it was so close to the mountains, the darkness, of course, occurs in the shadow of the peak much quicker. So we had people up there till about 9 o'clock, 9:30 that night, looking for that single smoke report. We were back up there at 0600 the next morning looking for it. We searched the area until 11:55 when we reported back to our trucks. As we came down into that canyon where the trailhead is, right when we got to our trucks is when the smoke report started coming in. By the time 9 to 11 minutes of turnaround, you get hiked back up to the edge of the trailhead. The fire was already 5 acres. We had a helicopter out of Monument that was in transit to another fire called the Springer Fire, which was going on over by Lake George. They were on there within 8 minutes of approximately 700 in the first minute. 911 reports going to it, and they were telling us there was 5 acres with about 80 spots around it, growing rapidly uphill in my field. By the time we had overhead outside of the initial crews on it, it had already expanded to about 25 acres.
Just that fast?
Just that fast.
How about Black Forest?
Yeah, it was the state IC that handed over to Rich Harvey's team. So upon arrival, that first incoming unit said that the fire was about 500 square feet of light flashing fuels. The wind was not blowing yet. They had about a 13-minute from first phone calls to somebody on scene with eyeballs on it. But the fuels types that it was growing in under the extreme droughts continued to push hard on them outside. So right at that time of day, of course, is some of the most intense burning period is just beginning. So it rapidly escalated from there with shifting wind pushing down canyon, up canyon, and then the rest of it took off. So within the first 2 hours of it, there was about 60 engines on it. By the time this transitioned to me, we had 153 engines on it, but it kept on. At that point, it was wind and fuel driven.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. What impact will this have on the community? Currently, there are no fire restrictions or bans in place, but as Mr. Campbell, Chief Campbell just indicated, with fires are typically wind and weather driven, could be implemented if weather patterns change. Fireworks, of course, in the city limits are still illegal. Some discussion has taken place regarding a smoking ban in our city parks, and citizens need to have a heightened awareness and need to always be careful with heat sources in natural areas. And we're, year-round doing public education with different homeowner groups and what have you, just preaching that mantra. Next, please. So lessons learned from Waldo Canyon and the Black Forest fires. We already know that our climate, winds, and number of homes in the wildland-urban interface makes us vulnerable to devastating fires. And I can't overstate that point, that with the massive number of homes that we have built here in the urban interface, it just makes us prime for something bad to happen should a fire occur. And as we found out with Waldo and Black Forest, there's an energy and a level of heat that those fires can create, hence they create a firestorm. Once they cross a threshold, and there is a science to it, it's nearly impossible to stop, and that's why it's so important for us to get a handle on the fire before things really, really escalate. And some things are, fires that are wind-driven, when the winds pick up to 50, 60, even 70 miles per hour, it's like a freight train. And at that point, then we're taking a defensive posture and saving homes after the fact. Responsible mitigation has helped to reduce risk. I want to touch on this real quick. Our city mitigation team in this past year has mitigated well over 1,000 acres. They've done an outstanding job, but we still have a long way to go. What we're telling homeowners to do, if you have a home that needs mitigation or you think needs mitigation, please give us a call. We will come out, assess it free of charge, and then of course we will mitigate it free of charge as well. So we really, really want to continue to hit that hard and heavy.
Chief, okay.
Yes, sir.
On mitigation, is the insurance industry helping in this regard? Is there more pressure today than there was, say, 3 years ago by insurers to make sure homeowners are doing their part to mitigate?
I would say generally, sir, yes, sir. It varies between insurance companies, but certainly the fires the last 2 years has made a push on that. Yes, sir.
When you say mitigation, I mean that.
Mitigation being giving us defensible space around the home, clearing up to 10 to 15 feet of the combustibles and things around the home. If the home has a wood shake roof, hoping to get the wood shake roof replaced with a non-combustible composite type of roof, things like that. But the main thing is getting clearance around the home itself, because that vegetation just makes for a perfect, not a fire break, a fire fuel right up to the home. And it's kind of similar to what the, yes sir, similar to the homes that are built, let's say in South Florida. I've got some my colleagues and international fire chiefs that live out there. They've got houses built to hurricane standards, and typically when the hurricane moves through, the houses left standing are those that are built to the standards. And typically speaking, there's always anomalies and outliers, but when a fire goes through mountain shadows or Black Forest, something like that, typically speaking, the homes that survive are the ones that had some really good mitigation prior to the fire occurring. Next, citizens are encouraged to have a go kit and a go plan. In other words, they've got some kind of an emergency kit, and they've got some kind of a family plan to exit and leave the area that they're living in very, very quickly. And they're planning and they're talking about this well before a fire occurs. In my time here, I've gotten very, very good feedback from our Fire Prevention Bureau and our mitigation team that folks are listening. I mean, the last 2 fires have really gotten, tragically, a tough way to find out, but how important it is, preparedness and having a go kit and an exit strategy and a plan to get out. Case in point, with the Waldo Canyon fire, there are roughly about 35,000 homes in that whole region. As tragic as losing 350 homes was, and at that time that was the largest amount of homes lost in a single fire in Colorado until Black Forest struck us last year. But you know, that equates to, we had about almost a 99% save ratio of homes up there. The firefighters, I can't say enough for the job they did and the courage they showed saving thousands of homes during that time. Our fire department has updated our emergency callback procedures, and what that means is that we have 119 firefighters on duty, strategically deployed throughout 21 fire stations in our city. That means we have over 300 firefighters, or right around 300 I guess, that are off duty because they're going to be on duty tomorrow or the next day. Those folks, we have callback procedures to get more firefighters on duty in a quicker and more efficient manner than prior to the Waldo Canyon fire. Provided additional wildfire-specific training or clothing, and then continued training in wildfire suppression, and that's just an ongoing thing for us. Later in the presentation, I'll be talking about a state chiefs plan that we put together in short order. We had 2 proof of concept exercises for the Broken Arrow, or also called the 3090 plan. Next, please. So past and future contributions from local military installations, currently working with the Cheyenne Mountain Air Force Station Fire Department for dual response in the southwest portion of our city. Our fire department has jointly responded to airport emergencies with Peterson Air Force Base Fire Department for many, many years. We partner closely with the Air Force Academy Fire Department, joint response along I-25, and lastly, we anticipate that our strong relationships with all military installations will continue into the future, and many of these folks are here right now, and I want to thank the chiefs that are here from the other agencies. We work very well together, and we just look forward to continued collaboration. And I think that's really one of the keys, and one of the most important reasons we're all here today. This is a way we can collaborate and network. And when things get really, really bad, quite often the transition going from non-emergency to an emergency situation, the smoothness of that transition, as I call it, organizing the chaos, it's really about relationships. And those relationships are developed well before the emergency. So in my role as the fire chief, typically I would go to our emergency operating center and co-locate myself with many colleagues, both within the city and outside of the city, and those relationships are key. Next. Firefighters from both our fire department and military installation fire departments train together, participate and exercise together, and work together. We had an exercise Skyfall about a month or so ago at the airport with a simulated plane going down. We've had several exercises. We had one at the Broadmoor Fire Department not too long ago, tabletop exercise. And let me just talk real quick about the Broken Arrow 3090 training concept. So we were in our state chiefs meeting in Vail, weeks after the Black Forest fire occurred. We were having our general meeting with the state fire chiefs, and we just got together and said, we've got to do something about bolstering our ground assault in the event that something like this happens again. So we started doing some brainstorming, and we came up with a plan to have 30 pieces of equipment, over 100 firefighters in any given location, Denver as an epicenter within 90 minutes. So we fast-tracked it, did a lot of work, got a lot of help from many, many agencies throughout the state, and we had a proof of concept exercise in the south part of Denver, late April, and then early part of May. We did the same thing on the north end of Denver, up near Loveland, and we, for the most part, met that 90-minute goal that we had established, and we were only over by probably 10 minutes with some of the later arriving fire engines. But what it means for us locally here from Colorado Springs, I mentioned we have 119 firefighters on duty per day. You know, God forbid if we have another Waldo type of fire occur or evolving or what have you, we're going to throw everything we pretty much can at the fire, but we're going to have to leave some of our firefighters within the city limits or within the city to handle medical emergencies and things like that. Broken Arrow will get us pretty much double what we could throw at a fire initially within 90 minutes, and we're hoping that makes a difference. Something else for me to probably bring up, Senate Bill 164 that Governor Hickenlooper signed has given us $20 million for bolstering our air fire fleet here in the state, and I believe it'll be implemented as of this week or initiated as of this week. What that means for us is 4 additional helicopters with airdrop capabilities and 4 single-engine air tanker capabilities. So 8 additional resources for this wildland fire season, and we're really thinking that's going to make a huge difference. Next slide, please. What can military installations do to mitigate the impact of potential fire danger? The best thing to do is raise awareness of the dangers of wildfire and the potential that exists in our region. I think we're meeting that goal. I think there is a very, very heightened awareness. I've had some really good meetings with the various installations over the last several months. We're engaged, you all are engaged, and we thank you all for that. And encourage service members to behave responsibly in the natural areas of the city. And that's just a kind of a citizen message we have, is just be safe out there with campfires, things like that. And once again, if you see anything, please call 911. Next slide. So, response to emergency in Colorado. Our department has participated in statewide and national wildfire response since the late 1990s. We work with other state agencies on an initiative, and that's the Broken Arrow 30 pieces of apparatus for 90 minutes. I mentioned that earlier. And our department has multiple mutual aid agreements throughout the region, including with local and many folks that are here with us today. And like I said, it's not just the documents that we have in place, but the working seamless mutual aid we have with our partners. I think it's terrific, and we will continue keeping that level going. Next, please. Our department would like to see some of the newly approved state wildfire craft based here in Colorado Springs. You know, there's discussion on exactly where these 8 aircrafts are going to be based. I haven't heard exactly where that's going to happen just yet. Maybe Chief Campbell has heard something, I'm not sure. But we'd also like to see a coordinated system of response that brings both military and civilian aerial firefighting resources to the area. Chief Campbell, any word on where you've heard those aircraft are going to be based by chance?
Yeah, the 2 of the exclusive use helicopters, they're medium ships, so we call them 204s or above. One is going to be placed in the Jefferson County area, probably at the airport, Jeffco Tanker Base, we call it, up off Highway 36, I believe it is, going to Boulder. The other one is going to go to Grand Junction Municipal. Those are the home locations of the 2 sponsors of the bill. Coincidentally, I'm sure. The others have not been identified. So there's 2 multi-mission capable fixed-wing aircraft that they're hoping their bid closes July 16th, I believe. And they would like to see those mission ready by July 30th. The aircraft, the fixed wing for retardant application is going to take a little bit longer to do because of the contracting, and probably won't be able to happen yet this year because it's a lot more complicated program for them to go through and get those fixed wings up.